Zombies were shuffling down the hallway of the second floor as they left the landing, and neither man wanted any surprises later when they came back down the steps. A few seconds of accurate gunfire changed that worry, and all that remained were oozing bodies piled knee-high in the hall. The two men sprinted up the steps to catch up to the leaders. Fitz and Quan didn't leave breadcrumbs behind to mark their trail. Kyle and Kevin needed only to look for freshly killed zombies. The two men in the lead had stopped at the top of the hall's edge, peering around the corner after dropping everything moving that shouldn't have been. Over his shoulder, Fitz spoke to Kevin. "Hall's all clear, Kevin. There are 4 doors down on the right." He nodded down the right hallway towards the flat Alan's family lived in. Kevin stepped up to the top of the stairs and motioned for them to keep moving in that direction. Fitz took 2 steps down the hall when one of the doors to their left suddenly swung inward, and a living man stepped out. Bloodied and wide-eyed like a lunatic, he held a massive cricket bat in his right hand as he stepped into the passage, seemingly challenging them to pass. Kevin's first thought was of the old Aussie movie Mad Max. "Warden Protective Group, drop the bat now," Fitz hollered to the man. The manic bastard kept creeping forward, slowing, inching the bat upwards, becoming more of a threat. The look in his eyes was that of confusion and fear with growing rage. "Drop it now! Ruse the bat! Stop!" Each man hollered out their own command, but nothing had an effect. Eventually, the man's slow movements turned into a spasm of aggression, and he launched his wiry frame forward, raising the bat over his shoulder to hit Fitz atop the skull. Nearly 20 years of experience kicked in for the team, and with one simultaneous action, each man fired a double tap into the chest and head of the man. Rather than exploding into Fitz with the cricket bat, his body took a sad forward motion, plunging and face-planting into the hallway, dead as a man could be. His shattered skull issued far too much blood onto the tiled floor, and the men stepped over his carcass, moving towards the flat that contained Becky and little Shelby. As agreed, the mother and daughter would remain inside until the men knocked for them. Fitz reached the door, and the men broke up into pairs of 2 on each side. Kevin was the first to wrap his old Nomex glove-covered knuckles on the door. Internally, he remarked how sturdy the door felt, and how thankful he was of old European buildings. From the other side of the sturdy door, the men heard Becky's lightly accented voice over the ringing in their ears. "Kevin? Fitz? Is it you? God, I hope so." The men exchanged a smirk, and Kevin replied to her, "It's us, Becky. We need to move fast. Open up." No sooner had Kevin finished speaking than the door swung inward, and the tiny frame of Becky Masters appeared. Becky was no bigger than a short minute, barely scraping the roof of 5 feet. She had her dark, unwashed hair pulled back in a ponytail, and her skin was pale. She looked thin and scared to Kevin, and that bothered him deeply. Alan had married a woman harder than he was, and to see her in this state was unsettling. Kevin worked up the best smile he could manage for her. She clutched onto him immediately, and they exchanged a long, genuine hug. She wiped a smear of